Today on Week in Review, relief may be granted for cancer patients in the Northwest. Dennis McKay, a local politician, has passed away, and the Terrace Northmen claimed double gold in the Rugby Saratoga Cup. Hello, I'm Damian Smith, and thank you for joining us here on Week in Review. Starting off today, we got a little more information Thursday about a death in Terrace. Terrace RCMP are currently investigating a death which was reported on August 15th. A body was discovered that evening in a wooded area near Park Avenue and Brook Street. Police believe the death is to be suspicious and have not ruled out homicide. The identity of the deceased has also not been confirmed at this time. Terrace RCMP believe this to be an isolated incident and that there is no threat to the public in relation to this incident. And police are asking for anyone with any more information to contact the Terrace Detachment at 250-638-7400. A release that was put out this week by the Kitimat RCMP revealed that it has been a decade since a then 67-year-old Kitimat resident named Noel Yasinski was reported as missing. Yasinski still has not been found since then, and the only real trace of him that's been discovered was his blue 2009 Ford Fusion, being found in east of Prince George near the Purden campground just about a month after he was reported as missing. Now the file is set to remain open until it's discovered so that his family can hopefully obtain some closure. And if you have any useful information about this case, you were asked to call the Kitimat RCMP at 250-632-7111 or to contact BC Crime Stoppers. Last weekend, the Saratoga Cup, which is a provincial tournament in rugby, was hosted at Coast Mountain College, and this was the first time the Saratoga Cup has been hosted in Terrace. And turns out the weekend was a pretty successful one for the host.
But this year we're here, we're in Terrace, and we won on home soil, and it feels really awesome.
The fourth time I've held this cup, probably the sweetest, yeah.
It's the first time the Saratoga Cup came to Terrace for rugby, but it was a storybook ending for the Northmen Club as they celebrate their 50th anniversary. The women captured their first ever title since joining in 2022 with a 31-5 win over the Rocky Mountain Rogues, and the men got back on top with a revenge game against the Rogues after eliminating them last year in the semifinals. With a dominant weekend, the Terrace Northmen Club hopes to use this weekend to build onto better things.
I mean, it's really great to see. Like I've said, we've only been in it for 3 years, so it's great to see the growth. Some of these ladies have been with us since day one. Some of them have just joined. We're the best of friends. We love to spend time together, and we like to win together. So this is really awesome.
We're always recruiting. We're always bringing new guys in. So we've got guys I played with since my first season, almost 20 years ago, and I've got guys that I'm just playing with for the first time. And that's the best part about this club. We're always welcoming new people. We're always trying to grow the sport. For us, that's what it's about, is introducing rugby to new people and giving new people to the community, or old people to the community, just a healthy outlet in a great sport.
And with 3 different clubs coming from different parts of the province, geography was not going to get in the way for these clubs to compete.
BC Rugby supported us a lot. BC Rugby is amazing and really supports the Summer League, the Division 3 rugby that we can play. Getting the other teams, kudos to them. Cranbrook, Penticton, Prince Rupert not so much, but the other 2 teams a long way away. So they put up a lot of money, a lot of effort, and we really appreciate it. That's really what the rugby community is about, though. A lot of people making a lot of travel, a lot of expense, but it all comes together and it's all worth it.
Noah Price-Baff, one of the leaders of BC Rugby, notes that geography remains a hurdle to get over.
In the interior in the north, it's very much still growing, and the difficulty there is geography. People are traveling 5-6 hours to play a game of rugby. As much as the people are willing to do it, there's not too many resources to build and create more local competition so that people don't have to invest so much time and money into the sport.
At the same time, BC Rugby is seeing a sizable increase in registration in youth and women's programs. From Terrace, I'm Damian Smith. A talented young artist has been brightening up the Spring Creek Trailhead Pump House, and CFTK's Jaylene Matthews met up with Sabrina Williams to hear about more.
Spring Creek is one of the most popular trailheads for local hikers and bikers to get up into the mountains. Outdoors enthusiasts can expect a sunny new welcome to Spring Creek Trailhead next time they visit, as the formerly unassuming pump house is the latest mural project from the Skeena Salmon Arts Festival Society. The vibrant design is the work of Sabrina Williams.
A lot of my ideas, they come from mostly nature itself, as while I was growing up around the villages, my home villages of Gitnya and Kitwanga, we're always taught to appreciate every little bit of nature because it provides for us. So we mostly have the two little flowers and a butterfly, and then on that other side we have the big sun.
The 21-year-old was a self-taught artist from a young age before attending the Frida Deasing School of Northwest Coast Art, from which she graduated last year.
For me, I'm trying to, as I go along with my art, I'm trying to break the boundaries of traditional, to break the rules, you gotta learn them. And with traditional Northwest Coast art, we have mostly red, black, white, and the occasional teal. And I've just been wanting to branch out and make my own art style.
Williams says this is her first mural, and her team here is mostly her family.
So I'm glad they showed up to help, especially the ones that are a lot taller than me.
And according to Williams, they're getting close to the final strokes. For CFTK News, I'm Jaylene Matthews.
Up next, we get an update from artist Dempsey Bob on some of his newer work. Welcome back. A lifetime of studying dimension and art has culminated in Dempsey Bob's living legacy of pieces with sculptures and artworks finding forever homes in galleries and private collections across the globe. But recently, Bob has created a collection close to home that honors his family's legacy. And once again, Jaylene Matthews caught up with Bob to discuss his exhibition.
The show is called Salmon Cannery Days, and Dempsey Bob says it's because he grew up in and around the cannery at Port Edward.
And I've been doing pieces with the theme of salmon because the salmon was central to our culture. It gave us time to carve, gave us time to do our art. What I did was with the show was I wanted to honor our ancestors that were cannery workers and fishermen. Because my dad worked in the cannery, my mom worked in the cannery, my grandfather, my whole family, my brothers, sisters, I worked there, and we all worked there. And it was really important to me because it's part of my heritage now. Our people, First Nations, have worked in the canneries for over 120 years.
Bob says he realized how significant the canneries were because out of that Port Edward Nelson Brothers cannery came many artists like himself.
And that's really significant because, it was a melting pot of nations, like there was Japanese there, Chinese, and also there was Haidas, Tlinkits, Tsimshian, Gitsan, Nishkas, Salish, there was Carriers, there was all different nations of our people. And what was really good about that time was that our culture was still strong, and we shared and we helped each other. And we all had a job and we worked. And I was part of it, And so I wanted to express that. I wanted to express that to people, and plus I just want to make a statement about the salmon too, We're getting less and less salmon. It's really scary now. Chief he's holding a salmon here. And this is part of my life and it's part of my heritage, and that's what I'm showing, and that's what an artist does, a real artist. That's what I thought about when I did that.
Salmon Cannery Days runs through the end of September at the North Pacific Cannery National Historic Site. For CFTK News, I'm Jaylene Matthews.
And with over a century of availability to the public, the Bulkley Valley exhibition is once again making its return to the Northwest. Here's a little recap on what you can expect for the rest of the weekend. Located in Smithers, we're now on to year number 105 at the Bulkley Valley exhibition, with this year's theme as Ribbons, Rides, and Rodeo. And starting this Thursday and running until Sunday, this attraction will be wooing in people from around the Northwest as we wrap up the summer. Live performances will be keeping people busy with Alabama Band and Rage Against the Machine tributes, along with the Northwest's own Mark Perry. The BCRA Rodeo will be there, which is always a big hit at the BVX. And of course, many rides will be available to those who desire to step foot on the Shooting Star amusements. For CFTK, I'm Damian Smith. Residents of the Northwest may be struggling to pay travel costs for cancer treatment, but it's possible they may have some relief soon. Jaylene Matthews has more.
The BC government recently announced they would provide $20 million over 2 years to support travel and lodging for cancer patients living in rural and remote areas of the province. This builds on last year's $10 million investment. That 2023 investment saw just under 1,400 cancer patients from 249 communities receive travel support funding, a 742% increase from the previous year. MLA Ellis Ross says it's a good thing for cancer patients, but would prefer to see the program expanded.
I also think that it shouldn't just be restricted to cancer treatment, because there's other treatments that rural people have to access that cost just as much. Kidney transplants, for example. Anything to do with where you have to travel to Victoria, Vancouver, or even elsewhere around BC. So it's a good thing to have it for cancer treatment, but we also should open up for medical treatment across the board.
He also says he's not sure it's enough money.
But for medical treatment, I just don't think 20 million is enough. And government knows the hardship that rural people go through in terms of expenses when trying to access health treatment. They know it. I mean, I brought it to the legislature myself. I talked to government about it and told them, and they were aware of it. And the simplest answer I got was it's something that they didn't anticipate when they centralized health services. Okay, great, you acknowledged it. But you haven't really done anything to actually offset the cost. Now all of a sudden we get an announcement specifically for cancer treatment costs. But I don't know how it's going to roll out.
As of 2021, cancer remains the leading cause of death in Canada. An estimated 2 in 5 Canadians will be diagnosed with cancer in their lifetime, and it's estimated it will kill 1 in 4 Canadians. For CFTK News, I'm Jaylene Matthews.
After the break, we get an update from Ellis Ross on how the province should take care of forest fires. Welcome back. There were a couple of reports over last weekend that have revealed that there were several fires of concern throughout the northern BC area. The first one was located at Kitimat, located just a few kilometers north of Hirsch Creek Park, and the fire grew to about 2.2 hectares of covering land. And following that, another forest fire popped up near Whitset, which was called the Coria Creek wildfire. Because of its proximity to Whitset, it resulted in the area putting an evacuation order into place. This came shortly after another evacuation alert was put into place for 6 properties along the Susquehanna River due to the Nettlezool Creek fire, which was listed as out of control and covered about 1,100 hectares. And while BC forest fires have burned large portions of the province, there is a bigger conversation at hand outside of just preventing the fires. MLA Ellis Ross gave CFTK his stance on fire management. As we get closer to the end of forest fire season, CFTK caught up with Ellis Ross to discuss forest fire management. And Ross believes that there is more to do when it comes to the amount of people actually fighting the fires and the lack of equipment given, though he noted that the blame does not sit with the manufacturers.
Sooner or later, you're going to say, okay, we're going to import firefighters from Mexico, or we're going to import firefighters from back east Canada. But nothing really has changed. I've actually toured the companies that are building forest firing equipment, and yet they're not getting contracts within BC. They're not getting contracts within Canada. They're getting contracts all around the world, but not here. On the other side of that, we're not really actually doing anything about forest management. We're still doing the same forestry management.
In 2023, it was reported from the BC government that it was the most destructive in the province's history, burning almost 3 million hectares and evacuating tens of thousands of residents.
It can't just be a fire buffer zone because fires jump. They can jump across lakes. I mean, if the wind's right, they can jump across lakes, rivers. We can actually water down the areas around outside our communities. We need to take a different look at forest fighting. We need to take a different look at forest management if we're going to actually think about how do we realistically protect our communities and our people in the future.
And with the upcoming provincial election, Ross is putting his eyes on what parties are going to do to prepare for forest fires when the season comes back for next summer.
I mean, now we got the government saying, oh, we're going to incorporate local knowledge. We're going to actually utilize all the resources in the communities. Well, I haven't seen it. We need a different type of process here, and I think the best way to understand that is try to ask the politicians in the next election, what are you going to do about forest management, forest fire management, technology, how are you going to keep our communities safe, our infrastructure safe, and our firefighters safe? What are you going to do? Because right now, what we're doing is not working.
From CFTK, I'm Damian Smith. Now, the Grey Cup Festival continued its journey in the Northwest and stopped in Terrace and Smithers shortly after being in Prince Rupert, and the 3-month journey was quite something for those who look to see the entire province. The Grey Cup made a stop in Terrace today as it approaches the end of its 75-stop trek over the span of 4 months. And I got a chance to speak to Jelena Salcedo, the site supervisor of the tour, who has been on the road since the tour's start in mid-May.
It's been amazing. We've been to almost 50 cities and towns in British Columbia, and just getting the whole province involved. It's the first time in a decade that we have the Grey Cup happening in Vancouver, which will be November 17th. So it's just been exciting visiting all the small towns to the big cities. Everything that we experience in the big city is also in the small towns as well too. So we're very excited to give exposure to them as well.
With stops in Prince Rupert on Tuesday, the experience up here in the Northwest has been quite different compared to the Lower Mainland for Salcedo and her staff. Now, much of the tour is set out to promote the Grey Cup final, which will be hosted in Vancouver this year on November 17th. But getting a full province tour tends to give you a greater understanding on what British Columbia is really like.
I think exploring the Indigenous lands and just getting to know all of the people and where we come from, I think that has been a very pleasant experience for me. It's my first time up north in BC, so it has just personally been a very eye-opening experience to me. I'm actually from the prairies, I'm from Alberta, so just being able to experience this, seeing the islands, especially in BC, has just been amazing. I was actually emotional the other day because there's just so much to see. Our province is huge.
And the tour still has a couple more weeks left, with their last stop in Victoria before the week-long celebration gearing up for the Grey Cup final.
So the Grey Cup Festival will be a week before the Grey Cup happens. So it'll be from November 10th to the 17th. And then we have the Grey Cup happening that day as well too. Very last day.
From Terrace, I'm Damian Smith.
A new urgent and primary care center is set to open in Williams Lake next year, which will be called the Williams Lake Center. The clinic will be open 7 days a week, and Health Minister Adrian Dix says extended hours of operation will make it easier for residents to access some care. A statement from the province says that there will be 18 full-time equivalent positions at the center, including family doctors, nurses, social workers, and physiotherapists. This center will be the 10th urgent and primary care center operating in the Interior Health region. Still to come, we'll take a look at local RCMP updates in the Northwest. Welcome back. In a press release, it was announced that there will be a brand new long-term care home unit in Smithers. With 160 new beds, the long-term care home is set to also replace a total of 56 beds at the Bulkley Valley Lodge, meaning the actual total of the new beds is at 216. And for the new home, it's set to be located on land that will be provided by the town of Smithers, where the construction will be operated by Northern Health and Providence Living, who they have partnered up with. The construction is set to start by the spring of 2028 and is expected to be open for use by 2030. Well, a well-known public figure in the Skeena and the Bulkley Valley has recently passed away. Here's Jaylene Matthews on the legacy of Dennis McKay.
I think I heard the members suggest that maybe we should shut down the logging industry as well and put those people out of work that are actually keeping their families fed, keeping a roof over their head, and keeping the banker away from taking back the equipment that they actually operate to make that dollar as they move the wood offshore. I don't support that in good times.
As reads from his obituary, Dennis McKay was born in Edmonton, Alberta on March 23, 1942. He served 28 years as an RCMP officer, from which he received a commendation and a long service medal. He also served 2 years with the Musical Ride. Upon retirement from RCMP, he served as a coroner and a licensed public investigator. McKay's final career was serving as MLA for 8 years for the Bulkley Valley-Skatine region from 2001 to 2009. During this time, he received the Queen's Medal for Public Service. He passed away August 14, 2024 in Smithers at the age of 82. McKay will be interned at the RCMP depot in Regina, Saskatchewan.
Keep your chin up and let's look forward to 2008 with lots of optimism. Merry Christmas.
For CFTK News, I'm Jaylene Matthews.
People who use transit in Kitimat will now see some improved service as a result of Route 4 crosstown. To support increased ridership and the continued growth of Kitimat, BC Transit and the province are partnering with the district municipality to expand additional priority service in the community, and this continues the work the province and BC Transit and local governments are doing to provide improved transit across the province. This investment in the local transit system is said to ensure that public transit services can continue to offer dependable transportation options for people in the Kitimat area, and people will see the enhanced service beginning in September of 2024. And in total, the province is committing approximately $29 million for the BC transit system expansion. The Kitimat RCMP also revealed on Thursday on what has been going on in the district, specifically from August 15th to the 21st. To start off, a dog bite where a male was walking his dog near Partridge Street when another dog got loose and then attacked. The male was able to separate the two dogs, and it appears that the one dog received some minor injuries. There was also a hit and run collision at Heisler Court, where police were able to determine that the headlight belonged to a Hyundai vehicle. There were no witnesses at the scene, and the vehicle had departed at the time. Included in the report were also found drugs in Nicheco Park, unwanted tenants, vessel checks, bar checks with no disturbances, along with a disturbance between an intoxicated male fighting with neighbors and swinging a golf club. The male was then arrested for causing a disturbance and lodged in cells until he was able to take care for himself. No charges are being recommended in this file. Well, that concludes this week's version of Week in Review here on CFTK-TV. Thanks for tuning in, and make sure to tune in on Monday for our cast airing at 5, 6, and 11 o'clock. Take care and good night.